Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I want to talk about why you might want to have a daily routine and how it could possibly transform your life. So I might make another video on my own personal experience of how that's really improved my own life over time. So here's the why, and really, what's the purpose of having a daily routine? Like, why are we doing this? It's because it's a catalyst for your own hero's journey of growth and expansion. You know, a routine can really bring your focus and your time and attention and really fill all your ambitions and your aspirations. Objectively, it'll help you cultivate skills for a number of key areas that are in your daily routine. For example, creative output, what you want to express out into the world, as well as a time to really practice everything that you're learning. Knowledge is meaningless unless it's actually applied. And that's knowledge you gain from books, from mentors, from coaches. And if you combine self-awareness as well as grounding as a fundamental part of your journey, then you'll also expand in a way where you can learn how to move through the progress in a calm, grounded way and really enjoy the process itself and really squeeze the juice out of your moment-to-moment experience. So having a daily routine can really focus you if you're a creator, an entrepreneur, or you just have this desire to put yourself out there. Like, it really allows you to share what you know and what's improved your own life and transform your own life with others. If you are already putting yourself out there and you do have something to express, and this part's really a work in progress for myself, is to have less of the personal self. So if you feel with Michael A. Singer's work and the language of the untethered soul, to instead to allow and surrender into allowing the creative force or the life force to flow through, or as Michael Neal likes to call it, the invisible giant. Now, if you haven't figured out your direction yet, I've made another video about that, which I'll link somewhere here. Okay, so what do you look forward to, and what are the breakthroughs that you might experience along the way? Over time, these daily actions, they turn into habits, and over time, these habits become embodied. So the action that you take just becomes a part of you, and there's far less resistance and really a lot less thinking around moving forward on various projects, as you're improving your life. The difference for me that really makes a difference is that when these habits do become embodied, you just really don't think about them as well. You no longer need to will these habits into existence, which clears up your mental bandwidth to really just focus on things much more objectively. And you're no longer attached to, the eagerness of wanting to be somewhere than you already are. It just really becomes a part of your life. However, there are growing pains from cultivation towards embodiment, and this is where grounding and being able to fully digest an emotional experience and understanding human behavior, it really comes into play and is valuable. So here's the what, and this is my own daily routine, and a lot of credit goes to this amazing YouTube creator who's called Dan Koe. He's a huge inspiration of mine, and I highly recommend checking out his YouTube channel, like if you're a creator, a coach, or an entrepreneur. I've tailored his approach to daily structure in order to fit my own direction and aspirations related to coaching. My mornings are for exercise and creative output. So this is where I do a lot of my writing, I move my body and then get into a really good physical, mental, and creative flow. I want to, as Steven Pressfield calls it, connect with and engage with the muse, or engage and connect with the life force. I really want to get me out of the way so that ideas and creativity can build a momentum and flow through. And this really does link back to grounding, which I'll talk about a bit later. But the mornings are really a chance to kind of overcome resistance that first thing in the morning. And it's a place where I really get to practice the knowledge and the insights and the wisdoms that I've gained through the afternoons, which are the input and the feel part of the daily routine. And to be honest, I haven't completely gotten to a place where, I always get into a flow, but just the showing up daily and the cultivation of these habits and the daily output really does help dissolve resistance over time. And if you haven't read Steven Pressfield's books like The War of Art, or War on Art, or Turning Pro, I highly recommend giving both a read. Read The War on Art first, which really dives into the characteristics of resistance, which leads into a beautiful segue of Turning Pro, which is a distinction about amateur versus pro. And I think it's a really good opportunity to really reflect on one's own way of being. You know, like, am I being an amateur in my life or a pro? And there's a really good saying that kind of like ties this up, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I really see how this applies. And so the morning output, it flows into the afternoon input. And this part of the day is for filling your mind with knowledge, insights, skill set acquisition, and socializing if that's part of your journey. So I actually find this part of my day extremely relaxing. Like as an INFP, I really love to learn. I actually find it far more relaxing than the output side of things because, you know, the pressure's off me, right? And it's a chance to really slow down and learn from mentors from all over the world, to stimulate the intellect or the extroverted intuition, you know, which allows us to make sense of things and see how all the dots connect over time. And it's just also like a really beautiful experience for introverted feeling as well. So alongside having my own coach that I work with regularly, I'm also doing a variety of programs which are in line with coaching. And if you're interested, just to name a few, is I'm doing Michael Neal's Creating the Impossible, as well as his Falling in Love with Writing program, Matt Diavella's YouTube Mastery course, Vingan's Stage Academy, and also me and my wife are currently prepping ourselves for Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within, which will be held in Sydney next month, which we just can't wait for. So the afternoons are all about learning, gaining knowledge, gaining insights and wisdom, or, you know, going out to, for me anyway, to meet up events or socializing with meaningful friends. And this section flows into one that I've added because it's really important for me to develop, as I'm not that great with when it comes to administrative things, but I think it's really fundamental part of the process as well. So late afternoons towards early nights, they're just for administrative purposes. Like, for example, brushing up on my website or replying emails or client questions or the financial administrative side of things. And I find, like, for me, it really helps me wrap up the workday, because for me, it's also a hard task. So when I finish that hard task, I'm like, okay, I'm wrapped for the workday. And then so this wrapping then flows into the nights. And the nights for me are brain dumping, reflection, grounding, and emptying my mind. And I'll be totally honest with you guys, this part of my daily routine is still a work in progress as well, because the first 2 years of my coaching, I really spent just all in on grounding, like studying grounding, practicing grounding, not so much like the practical side of moving projects forward. But it wasn't until the last 2 to 3 years where, you know, I really started to combine the grounding side with the practical side of things, which creating side of things, which I think is like super important, you know. It's kind of like what Eckhart Tolle says if you watch any of his material, where there's an importance of combining the being and the doing. Like, or as you're doing, to still have that part of you that's grounded in being. So that, like, although the outcome, the destination is important, you're still enjoying, your ground is rooted in the present moment, and you're enjoying the process along the way. But just real quick, like, where grounding feeds into creating, and creating brings up a lot of resistance for you to then ground. And I think the two synergize so perfectly. And I feel a lot of people in the coaching space or spirituality, like myself included, they get stuck with just grounding. And I mean, like, I certainly did, but I also think it was a necessary part of my journey. And another reason why I'm still working on this nighttime part of my routine is the distractions. So, you know, they're just like, I made a video on this, but there's like so many good TV shows and just so little time to get through all of them, you know, because like as an INFP, as an intuitive flair, like I love watching meaningful movies or dramas that are usually above an 8 on IMDb, because anything less, I just feel like the story's not written that well. It doesn't really take you through that journey as well, or that emotional experience. But for the most part, like, I've been able to limit my leisure time to about an hour a night. It's a little bit more relaxed on the weekends, but to be able to really like slow down at nights and reflect on the day's output or input has been extremely beneficial for me. And one of the best coaches in the world, his name's Steve Hardison, who charges like 10K an hour. He has a saying that goes, slow down to speed up. And I can really see, you know, where that's applied in my life, you know, especially in this part of the daily routine. So it's a chance to also look objectively at what I've done, how many hours that I've put into my projects, and how I've been able to move them forward, like where my skill set is and objectively reflect on what I can improve in terms of the hard skills or even the expression, or just noticing, you know, what is showing up as I'm showing up and mucking around and what I could do better next time. Extremely valuable. Then I'll read something that's related to awareness and grounding. And I think that just really ties in this whole process, enjoying the process. And the books that I'm currently reading, but not limited to, again, if you're interested, is like Byron Katie's work, Everything Michael A. Singer, Adi Shante, Shinzen Young. I'm also doing a couple of Eckhart Tolle online retreats that you can find on Audible. As well as I've invested in Joe Dispenza's programs and online retreats. Then I'll also do like 20 to 60 minutes of stillness or meditation. And the purposes of this is just to be with my thoughts and really see what's showing up in here in this body mind. You know, I'm not looking to quieten my mind per se, but just like really surrender to what is and like see what's showing up in here. And you know, what does this personal self need? Like, where is it taking me? Does it need some compassion or empathy? You know, is it looking for validation? What's the worldview of this self that's being created over the course of my life? And how can I embrace him with all these issues, right? And so that wraps up my daily routine. And I want to share with you guys a little bit about rest days, because I think rest days are so important to have just that one day of complete rest where you can calm the nervous system, you know. And so me and my wife will usually Saturday or Sunday, where we calm the nervous system. You know, maybe we take out the dog for a longer adventure, which in itself is just a joy to see, like a loving and fully present being, an animal, you know, do his thing. But what's really interesting is that although it's rest days, what I find is that a lot of creativity actually shows up on these days, because I think that's just the nature of being relaxed and being, you know, kind of chilled conversation. It's like a state of being that's a catalyst for spontaneity and the creative life force to flow through. And so if the flow's going and like I see ideas or insights and realizations come through, you know, from that relaxed state, I'll just like whip out my Apple Notes and I'll start punching away casually. I'll write down things that I can then pick up when I start the next work week and go back and refine, you know, play with, muck around with, or put out into the world. So that's it for today, guys. I hope this one's been helpful. It's certainly made a huge difference in my own life. And like without having that daily routine, I think it's far easier to fall back into distractions or neediness or boredom, right? And other unnecessary, needless noise, which I made a video about a while back. So yeah, keep moving forward and I'll catch you guys on the next one.